Okay, now let's look at the other issue, the issue playing out in Ondo State between the governor and the deputy governor, vis-a-vis the issue of transmission of power to the deputy governor. What is your thought on it?
Well, I think the people involved in that crisis should actually look at the provisions of the Constitution. Even though I know it's no longer, the crisis is no longer what it was before now. I mean, in the sense that the governor had assumed office through the instrumentation of the state assembly. All right, but if you look at the provision of the Constitution, the Constitution is clear that where a governor cannot discharge his office either by virtue of vacation or whatever, he is expected to transmit a declaration to the Speaker of the House. All right, and upon that transmission of that declaration, the deputy governor assumes the office of the governor in acting capacity. All right, and if the governor decides to return, he is also expected to transmit a declaration to that effect. All right, so that the status quo can be restated. But unfortunately, the governor Akeredolu is not in position to transmit a declaration to return back to office. In fact, if you look at some of the political reports, he's not even in the country as at now, on account of health grounds. Nobody is really sure of the state of his health, and that brings to question the provision of section 189 or 188 of the Constitution and 189 that deals with situation where the governor is permanently capable of performing the functions of his office. All right, if that procedure had been taken, then it will obviously a medical panel ought to have been set up by the Speaker of the House upon a resolution of 2/3 of the members of that House to determine the state of health of the governor, whether the governor is capable of discharging the functions of that office. But that has not been done. All right,
yeah,
since that has not been done,
but that is not the issue now.
Yes, I know.
We are all aware that the governor has been having health challenges.
Yes.
We're also aware that he had traveled before he came back.
Yes.
When he was away, the deputy governor could not perform the functions of the office of the governor in his absence.
Yes.
And that raised a lot of issues. And some people were of the view that governance can never be in abeyance. And you can never create vacuum in governance or administration.
Yes.
And in a state, there are duties that the governor performs on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
And that those things cannot be left in abeyance if the governor is not there to act.
Yes.
And that raised a lot of issues during his absence.
Yes.
Because the deputy governor could not do anything, bringing the governorship, the administration of the state to almost a stalemate. Now that he has traveled again, has there been a proper transmission of power by the furnishing the speaker with declaration of his going abroad for medical treatment of whatever it is, which automatically makes the deputy governor to act and perform the functions of the governor? Is there any such thing?
I think the problem here is this, just like I was explaining. If you look at the provisions of section 189 that I was talking about, and you compare it with the provision of section 190, section 190 subsection 1, what is supposed to be done is for the governor to transmit that declaration.
Yes.
And that was not done. All right. And since it was not done, the argument of some of the governor's supporters is that the deputy governor cannot take charge of the office of the governor. All right?
Yes, but so media reports to the effect that while traveling this time around, the governor transmitted power in the layman's language
Transmitted power
to the deputy governor to be acting.
In
that
what form? In what form? Then the one who asked the question, in what form did he transmit that power?
That they may send a declaration to the speaker.
Once a declaration is sent to the speaker,
yes,
automatically the deputy governor steps into office as
yes,
acting governor.
Yes.
That is the constitution,
yes,
section 190.
Mm-hmm.
And until he transmits another declaration to return, the deputy governor will remain as acting governor.
Yes.
But we had a situation in our hands in those states where a section that is for the governor are trying to impeach the deputy governor and say that the deputy governor should not perform that function. All right?
Mm-hmm.
On account possibly that the governor is still capable of doing the function anywhere, maybe like we had during Buhari's government, where we were told that the governor can run the affairs of the state from any part of the president can run the affairs of the state from any part of the world. And I think that was what was playing out in Ondo State. And the controversy around it is that the deputy governor was not allowed to perform those functions. All right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, but as it is now, with some of the political intervention, all right, there have been some kind of situation that had permitted or accepted the deputy governor to run the affairs of the state. But the point I'm making is that the position is still unconstitutional. There is no compliance with either section 190 or section 189. Yes, granted that the deputy governor is now in the saddle as acting governor, but there is no compliance with the provision of section 190 subsection 1 or the provision of section 189, which talks about the permanent incapacity of the governor, where the governor is found to be permanently incapable of performing that function. There are procedures under the constitution that must be complied with.
Yes, but like I said earlier, that is not the issue there for now. The issue is not whether the governor is permanently incapacitated, which requires the tutors, members of the members of the executive council of the state, and they require medical analysis and report. But that is not the issue for now. The issue we are even battling with is, has the deputy been given the powers to act and perform the duties of an acting governor to ensure that the state and the administration of it is not left in abeyance?
Now, my own opinion, if looking at the constitution, my own opinion is this. Once a governor is not available to discharge his function, automatically the deputy governor is an acting governor. Whether or not there is because the issue came up some time ago, where a president or a governor does not transmit, what happened?
That is the issue that we are really looking at, because the constitution is has made provisions that when the governor proceeds on vacation or for any other reason is not available, the constitution has said that he has to make a declaration and transmit it to the speaker.
Yes. And
once that is automatically, the deputy governor assumes the office of acting governor and performs the day-to-day activities of the state. Where the governor fails to do that, does the deputy automatically, in spite of the constitutional requirements, take up that assignment?
That is what I said earlier on, that as long as he remains the deputy governor, whether or not the governor transmits, once the governor is not available to perform his function, the deputy governor becomes the acting governor. It does not require any special condition. That provision of section 190 does not make the transmission a condition for the deputy governor assuming office as an acting governor. The provision subsection 1 of it, if I read it to you, it says whenever the governor is proceeding on a vacation or is otherwise unable to discharge the function of his office, he shall transmit a written declaration to the Speaker of the House of Assembly to that effect. And until he transmits to the Speaker of the House of Assembly a written declaration to the contrary, the deputy governor shall perform the functions of the governor as acting governor. Meaning that it is only when he transmits a written declaration that he intends to take over. To the contrary,
now there are two things
that the man sees it, that the deputy governor sees it to be an acting governor.
Yes, you see, two things.
So it's automatic.
Two things are there by that constitutional provisions. One, that he shall transmit, which is mandatory.
Yes.
And that upon that transmission of declaration, automatically the deputy governor begins to perform the functions of the governor in an acting capacity. Now, where the governor fails to transmit that declaration, what happens?
That's what I've just said, that the provision is that the deputy governor will still act
In spite of the
whether
declaration.
or not to transmit. Whether or not
Okay.
to transmit.